Alright, so before we further continue with the application, there are a few things which I kind of need to address, and I should have done that as soon as we started using the emulators, but never mind, the sooner the better. So these are a few things which might cause inconvenience while using the emulators, and I personally wasted some time on them, and I don't want you to go through the same thing. So the first thing is that sometimes while using the emulators, like for instance, I will be spinning up one right now using the same command. Sometimes mistakenly, accidentally, or unknowingly, you may close the emulator like without proper stopping the emulators. Like for instance, I have it running on this terminal, and if I kill the terminal without properly stopping the emulators, it will stop, like it's going to quit the terminal, but the processes are still going to run on those ports. So for instance, if I kind of spin it up once again using the same command, it might not work. As you can see, it's kind of throwing an error saying that the port 8080 is occupied. So the thing is, those processes are still running, and now we have to manually stop them. So for that, if you are on Mac, you can open the terminal, and there is a command of lsof -ti, and you have to state the port. So in my case it is 8080. It might be different on your system, and if you do that, it's going to return us back the process ID, the process which is running on that port. So now we just have to manually close it, and for that we can use kill with the -1515. So this tag ensures that, like, along with closing the process, it also clears out the cache that it may have produced. So now next to it, we need to provide the process ID, which in this case is this one. So if we do that, now we should be able to use the emulators in a proper way. So this is one way, like this is one case like which may cause the issue. The other one, which is kind of like a common case, is that when you try to stop the emulator by using the Control C, sometimes you may kind of press it more than once. Like for instance, I just pressed it 2 times, and it even says, like over here, throws a warning saying that it received the Control C 2 times, which kind of stopped the process of stopping the emulator. And this may result in kind of leaving 1 or 2 emulators still running, like the process still running. So in order to force close them, like if I try running the emulators again, it might not work. Like it's not always going to be the issue. Sometimes it may go with a different port, but in some, like if it doesn't work, you do know how to close it. You can always see the error message and see the port which is kind of causing the issue, and then you'll have to kind of manually stop the process. So this is how you can do it on Mac. If you're on Windows, there is a different way, but the idea is the same. You have to use this command, which kind of gives you the same port, the process ID. You have to specify the port number which is causing the issue, and then using this command, you can stop that process. So yep, these are the 2 ways in which you can fix in the issue of the emulator not working. Now the other thing is, as you must have already know, like you must have experienced it by now, that when you stop the emulator, it kind of wipes away the entire data, the entire thing that you may have created during that process, like while using the emulator. Like for instance, I have spinned it up once again, and if I visit the application, the emulator, and check the Firestore, I will be seeing that the entire thing, the entire database has been wiped out. So that's kind of like it will be fixed in the upcoming version of the Firebase emulator suite. They will be adding a UI over here which kind of resolves that. It takes care of that. But for the time being, what I normally do is, inside the package.json, I create a custom script over here, and we can name it whatever we want. Let's name it as Firebase emulators, and we will be using the same command to spin up the emulator, which is this one. But along with this, we have to pass in two additional arguments. The first one is export. I should kind of reduce the size of it. Export on exit in such a way, and the other one is import, where we need to provide the directory from which you want to import, and this is going to be the one to which it will be exporting as well. So in this case, we have to provide the relative path, and it's going to be the same directory, and we can name the folder as whatever we want. Let's name it as Firebase emulator, something like this. Yep. So now when we use this script, it's going to ensure that when we are using the emulator, the data is persisted, and the next time we kind of use the same command, it imports the same data. So I will be stopping the emulator, and I'm going to use this command instead, using npm run Firebase emulators in such a way. So now it's working the same way, and I'll have to kind of stop the emulator in order to see the export. If we do that, you will see over here it created a folder within which it kind of contains all the data for the services that you have selected for the emulator. We have the auth and the Firestore. Currently they must be kind of empty because we didn't really do anything. So these are the two things which I had to address. These personally caused me some issue, and I don't want you to go through the same thing. So that being said, I think we can actually start with the cloud functions. We can continue from where we left.